Hi, I'm Erik Linask here in the TMC newsroom. We are here on the third day of IT Expo West, our first event here in Austin, Texas, and it's been a great couple of days so far. I have on the program this morning Christopher Jost. Christopher is from NSFocus. Good morning, Christopher. Thanks for joining me.
Good morning. Thanks for having me over.
So let's talk a little bit about DDoS attacks and what's been going on. I mean, the nature of those attacks has changed rather dramatically over the last year or so, both in terms of who's being attacked, we've seen an awful lot of that going on, and who's doing the attacking.
Okay, sure. Well, one of the biggest changes we've seen over time has been in the size of the attacks. The size of the attacks is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We're seeing attacks up to 120 gigabits per second now. But that's kind of the old way of doing things. What we're really starting to see a lot more of are application attacks. Bandwidth attacks have been pretty traditional. And those are somewhat easier to deflect in many ways. You can always throw bandwidth at the problem if you're in a hosted center, but for application attacks, you're actually attacking the underlying servers and applications, and those require a lot more intelligence in trying to mitigate the effects of those attacks.
So what does that mean, and particularly from the NSFocus point of view, what does that mean in terms of the traditional anti-DDoS attack solutions that have been out there?
Well, there's a couple things. So the traditional approach for DDoS solutions has been to buy an appliance, buy a box, stick that on your network, and that's a pretty capital intensive approach to doing things. What we're trying to do more of now is, since the attacks are happening to a broader number of companies and firms, we're trying to make it so that we can scale that out to people that might have been out of reach for previously.
What are you doing that's differentiating NSFocus in the market? What do you do differently than other vendors?
Well, at our heart, we're a research company. So when we come into a new attack form, we try to propagate that out. We work with a lot of other firms. We're a major contributor to stopbadware.org. And by having that hard research arm, we have great definitions, we have great algorithms that can work on attacks that haven't necessarily been widely disseminated. Zero-day attacks, by the nature of the shape of the Earth, happen the day before in China. So we see things before the rest of the world does.
You know, so one of the interesting things about NSFocus, especially at a time when most vendors are broadening their horizons and broadening their scope of their products, you guys are sort of keeping a fairly focused approach. Tell me about that approach and why you're doing it that way.
Well, we think the anti-DDoS market is underserved. The IPS, the IDS world, web applications, those are all fairly well entrenched in the US. We think we have a very different approach with DDoS mitigation, and we think the market here it lends itself very well to it.
And what kind of success have you been seeing in the market thus far?
Well, up to this point, we have the largest bank in the world. We have the largest telecom in the world. We have the largest ISP in the world. So we've been, I would say, fairly successful in that area. But honestly, that has been limited to the Asia-Pac marketplace. So as we come into the US market, we are learning a lot more about the different challenges they face.
Excellent. But at the end of the day, the attacks are the same whether they're here or there.
It is. It's internet protocol is internet protocol when you get right down to it.
Excellent. Christopher, thank you so much for joining me, and enjoy the rest of today's show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good day.